exaltation. I was born to lift the name above all names. You hear the melody of all creation, but there's a song of praise. Come on, every voice. Who else is worthy? Who else is worthy? There's no one. It's only you, Jesus. Who else is worthy? Who else is worthy? There is no one. Only you, Jesus. You are the infinite.
give 4 high fives on your way back to your seats.
It's a blessing just to think that I could think about it. I know some people been searching and so they drink about it. But for the cup I drink from will never run. It's what my life on. Asked for a life vest. He said, son, this is lifelong. Holy Spirit driven. Had to learn to keep the brights on. Putting God in a box like seeing Shaq with some tights on. Well, I been loosened by the grip of the python. I shed skin, new hymns. I got Christ
Hello?
on.
Hello? Do you guys hear me? We good? I think we're good. Okay, yeah, I'm good, I'm good. What is up, AY? My name is Maisie.
I'm Griffin.
We are so excited for you to be here, but we have an announcement that we'd be pretty excited for you to go to as well. Motion Conference. It's gonna be lit. It really is. And there are only 5 spots left. There's the date, the price, all of that info, if needed, for you to know. But it's gonna be really good. But we have something before we leave for Motion on a Wednesday. What is that?
On Wednesday, before we leave for Motion, we have missions recap night. Okay.
Yes.
If you went to Atlanta, you just got back from Atlanta, let me hear you a little bit. All right, we had a great time in Atlanta, got back on Saturday, and we got 2 other teams out right now, one in Kansas City, one in Ireland. So be praying for them while they're gone. But we're gonna hear some stories that Wednesday night right before we leave for Motion. So make sure that you are here for that you don't miss it, because they're gonna have some great stories that you will want to hear.
We all love youth on Wednesdays, but we also have services on the weekend, 6 o'clock at the Rose District, which is downtown Broken Arrow. Yeah, I hear you, Rosers, I hear you. But also on Sunday at 9 in the morning in the Activity Center, also known as the AC, we have AYM, which is super nice, and then 10:45 right in this section to hear mostly Pastor Ron, but it's sick. They're all good sermons. It's going to be right here, and that's at 10:45 in this auditorium.
Yeah, and last announcement is that tonight we have Meet Us at the brand new Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
I heard, Maisie told me earlier that they made this Chick-fil-A specifically for us to have Meet Us tonight, okay? So you don't want to let them down. They made that Chick-fil-A just for us, okay? And so it's right between 121st and 111th on Aspen, okay? That's where you want to go right when we're done with service tonight. Don't miss it.
Well, there's some business to be done. If you guys haven't been able to tell, our youth pastors are both gone on the missions trip that he was talking about. But I'm going to need y'all to stand on your feet. Come on. This is very important because we have Pastor Joel bringing the word.
Changed everything. Oh, 'cause I know you now. How could I go without Jesus? You're more than enough for me.
What's up, AY? How's everybody doing tonight? Doing well? You guys look good. You sound good. I think you smell good. I was over. The only thing, this is my first time to be at youth at the South Campus since you guys have started meeting in the gym before. Because used to, we were all combined. And then 2020, we had 2 different campuses go on Wednesday nights, which was great. We got a lot of great growth and great things happening. But this is my first time to be here with having it in the AC to start off. And AC is like a good term because it means air conditioning. But I was playing basketball beforehand, and so I don't know, I got kind of sweaty, especially my back. I had a backpack on with my laptop, and so do you guys get sweaty, or are you like, I have church, I need to be in church mode? Do you guys go full out and you get sweaty, or who gets sweaty pre-service? I saw some people serving the volleyball, and it was the goal was to break somebody's nose. There was no other goal than that, I think, right? I mean, was that your goal? To break Aaron Portillo's nose? Poor Aaron. When you were serving the volleyball pre-service, I was like, somebody's gonna die. It was brutality up there. But anyway, it was fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed the new building. It's amazing. You guys have a good 4th? Yeah, good 4th of July. We got to go and be with some great friends, and it was awesome. It was one of the best 4ths we've had in a while. Man, I've been hearing some great things, texting those that are on the missions trips and getting a little bit of updates. And I know that the recap is going to be really cool for you guys to be able to hear all that God has done. And what I would encourage you with is don't just let that be something that exists in Kansas City, Atlanta, and Ireland. Like, say you didn't go on a trip this summer. Like, you get to do your missions work here. Like, when we go to Chick-fil-A, which they might all be saved at Chick-fil-A, I guess. But at Chick-fil-A, you can go do your ministry there. You can do it tomorrow, wherever you go. And so we get to make a difference wherever we go. Amen? Well, tonight we are actually kind of talking along that theme about a responsibility that we all have, and that is the responsibility of leadership. And so I want to start off by asking everybody here in the room a question. How many of you guys would consider yourselves to be leaders? You consider yourself to be a leader. Okay, so some of you guys raised your hand for that, and that's kind of what I expected. John Maxwell is one of the most well-known, one of the most publicized authors. I think he's written close to 80 books, and so he's just the most famous leadership guy like that is living today, in my opinion. But here's what he said about leadership. He said, leadership is influence. Leadership is influence, nothing more and nothing less. That's all it is. And so whether we know it or not, and whether we like it or not, we're all leaders because we're leading people somewhere. Our words, our actions, the examples that we set for others, whether that's good or bad, we are leaders leading people down some sort of path by the way that we live our lives. And it might sound like we are oversimplifying it to say that leadership is influence, but it's really true. Did you influence somebody or not? If you did, you led them in a certain way. And again, that could be good or bad. I've got a friend who was constantly just negative. And I had to pull myself away from being around him because he was actually leading me. I was a more mature follower of Christ, but by me being around that person, I started to become more negative because they were always negative. So who was leading who? Even though I was the more mature Christian, I was actually being led down an unhealthy, complaining sort of path. I was always finding myself being negative. And so we're all going to be led, and we're all going to be leading others along the way. And I will say, though, by asking that first question, when I said, how many of you would consider yourself to be leaders, that's honestly kind of an overwhelming and kind of an intimidating thing to think about. Right? For me to say, do you think you're a leader? You'd be like, shoot, yeah, like I'm absolutely a leader. Like that's kind of, it would feel like you're being conceited. It would feel like presumptuous to be like, I've self-appointed myself as a leader tonight to be able to raise my hand when Pastor Joel answers that. But by saying we think we're leaders, it also puts on a certain level of responsibility. So it's kind of like, if I do raise my hand, basically I'm signing up to be like, okay, whenever stuff goes down, I'm the guy that people are going to be looking to for answers. And so when we think of that, it's like, I don't even know if I want to raise my hand. I don't know if I want to be a leader. I don't know if I want that responsibility. And so, honestly, I think one of the biggest problems with leadership is that most people think that when they think of the idea of leadership, they think that we have to change the world. Like this leader of the country, like they do negotiations with leaders from other countries. And so they have like this massive responsibility on them. For a leader to make a difference, like they have to do big things. But what I would really want to communicate to you guys tonight is that it's not as intimidating and overwhelming as you might think, as much pressure as you might put on yourself. It's really a lot of little things done over and over and over again to be able to make a difference in people's lives. And so tonight I want to start out, I want to show you guys a quick video of something that to me teaches us a lesson on everyday leadership. And this is stuff, because leadership isn't just like stuff we talk about. We don't get together and have meetings, leaders meetings, just to have meetings and hope that these things take place. Realistic leadership, day-to-day leadership, happens by the small things that we do on a consistent basis. So you guys watch this video.
How many of you are completely comfortable with calling yourselves a leader? See, I've asked that question all the way across the country, and everywhere I ask it, no matter where, there's always a huge portion of the audience that won't put up their hand. And I've come to realize that we have made leadership into something bigger than us. We made it into something beyond us. We made it about changing the world. And we've taken this title of leader and we treat it as if it's something that one day we're going to deserve. But to give it to ourselves right now means a level of arrogance or cockiness that we're not comfortable with. And I worry sometimes that we spend so much time celebrating amazing things that hardly anybody can do that we've convinced ourselves that those are the only things we're celebrating. And we start to devalue the things that we can do every day. And we start to take moments where we truly are a leader, and we don't let ourselves take credit for it, and we don't let ourselves feel good about it. And I've been lucky enough over the last 10 years to work with some amazing people who have helped me redefine leadership in a way that I think has made me happier. And with my short time today, I just want to share with you the one story that is probably most responsible for that redefinition. I went to a school in a little school called Mount Allison University in Sackville, New Brunswick. And on my last day there, a girl came up to me and she said, "I remember the first time that I met you." And then she told me a story that happened 4 years earlier. She said, "On my day before I started university, I was in the hotel room with my mom and my dad, and I was so scared and so convinced that I couldn't do this, that I wasn't ready for university, that I just burst into tears. And my mom and my dad were amazing. They were like, 'Look, we know you're scared, but let's just go tomorrow. Let's go to the first day. And if at any point you feel as if you can't do this, that's fine. Just tell us, we will take you home. We love you no matter what.' And she said, so I went the next day and I was standing in line getting ready for registration, and I looked around and I just knew I couldn't do it. I knew I wasn't ready. I knew I had to quit. And she says, I made that decision, and as soon as I made it, there was this incredible feeling of peace that came over me. And I turned to my mom and my dad to tell them that we needed to go home. And just at that moment, you came out of the Student Union building wearing the stupidest hat I have ever seen in my life. It was awesome. And you had a big sign promoting Shinorama, which is Students Fighting Cystic Fibrosis, a charity I've worked with for years. And you had a bucket full of lollipops. And you were walking along and you were handing the lollipops out to people in line and talking about Shinorama. And all of a sudden, you got to me and you just stopped and you stared. It was creepy. This girl right here knows exactly what I'm talking about. And then you looked at the guy next to me and you smiled and you reached in your bucket, you pulled out a lollipop and you held it out to him. And you said, you need to give a lollipop to the beautiful woman standing next to you. And she said, I have never seen anyone get more embarrassed faster in my life. He turned beet red and he wouldn't even look at me. He just kind of held the lollipop out like this. And I felt so bad for this dude that I took the lollipop. And as soon as I did, you got this incredibly severe look on your face and you looked at my mom and my dad and you said, look at that, look at that. First day away from home, and already she's taking candy from a stranger. And she said everybody lost it. 20 feet in every direction, everyone started to howl. And I know this is cheesy, and I don't know why I'm telling you this, but in that moment when everyone was laughing, I knew that I shouldn't quit. I knew that I was where I was supposed to be, and I knew that I was home. And I haven't spoken to you once in the 4 years since that day, but I heard that you were leaving. And I had to come up and tell you that you've been an incredibly important person in my life, and I'm gonna miss you. Good luck. And she walks away, and I'm flattened. And she gets about 6 feet away, she turns around and smiles and goes, you should probably know this too. I'm still dating that guy 4 years later. A year and a half after I moved to Toronto, I got an invitation to their wedding. Here's the kicker, I don't remember that. I have no recollection of that moment, and I've searched my memory banks because that is funny, and I should remember doing it, and I don't remember it. And that was such an eye-opening, transformative moment for me to think that maybe the biggest impact I'd ever had on anyone's life, a moment that had a woman walk up to a stranger 4 years later and say, you've been an incredibly important person in my life, was a moment that I didn't even remember. How many of you guys have a lollipop moment, a moment where someone said something or did something that you feel fundamentally made your life better? How many of you have told that person they did it? See, why not? We celebrate birthdays where all you have to do is not die for 365 days. And yet we let people who have made our lives better walk around without knowing it. And every single one of you has been the catalyst for a lollipop moment. You have made someone's life better by something that you said or that you did. And if you think you haven't, think about all the hands that didn't go back up when I asked that question. You're just one of the people who hasn't been told. But it is so scary to think of ourselves as that powerful. It can be frightening to think that we can matter that much to other people. Because as long as we make leadership something bigger than us, as long as we keep leadership something beyond us, as long as we make it about changing the world, we give ourselves an excuse not to expect it every day from ourselves and from each other. Marianne Williamson said, our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light and not our darkness that frightens us. And my call to action today is that we need to get over that. We need to get over our fear of how extraordinarily powerful we can be in each other's lives. We need to get over it so we can move beyond it. And our little brothers and our little sisters, and one day our kids, can watch us start to value the impact we can have on each other's lives more than money and power and titles and influence. We need to redefine leadership as being about lollipop moments. How many of them we create, how many of them we acknowledge, how many of them we pay forward, and how many of them we say thank you for. Because we've made leadership about changing the world, and there is no world. There's only 6 billion understandings of it. And if you change one person's understanding of it, one person's understanding of what they're capable of, one person's understanding of how much people care about them, one person's understanding of how powerful an agent for change they can be in this world, you've changed the whole thing. And if we understand leadership like that, I think if we can redefine leadership like that, I think we can change everything. And it's a simple idea, but I don't think it's a small one.
Right, so good. I mean, again, I'll admit, it's pretty simple. It's kind of cheesy, like, oh, wow, you handed somebody a lollipop. But what did that person say that came up to him at the end of their time at the college? They were like, you've been one of the most influential people in my life. I'm sorry, what did I do? I handed you a lollipop? Like, that sounds so ridiculous. And it was so easy of a task for him to be able to go up and do that. But it was so special and such a meaningful thing. And so a quote from the video, it said, leadership isn't about changing the world. Again, that's big. And we do want to change the world, but how does that happen? One person at a time. So leadership is about little lollipop moments and influencing just one person's understanding of the world at a time. And for what we're talking about, obviously, we want to influence people for the kingdom. And so it's influencing one person at a time to help them understand Jesus, to help them understand his love, his mercy, his grace, and all those things. And so I love this because it's exactly the way that Jesus lived his life. You could say, well, Pastor Joel, Jesus changed the world by one action when he died on a cross for our sins. He did change the world, and he just covered it all with one action of dying on the cross. And I agree, but it wasn't just a one fell swoop for him. He also influenced people everywhere he went, and he would walk through the town, and even when he was on his way to that place, he would be stopped, and he would go ahead and give them that attention and show them value that even though I'm busy and I'm headed this way, I'll give you my time, I'll give you my attention. One person at a time, Jesus changed the culture and changed people everywhere he went. One of my favorite bloggers is Seth Godin, and here's what he says about everyday leadership and building culture. He says, each of us builds culture every time we interact with anyone else. Opting out isn't possible. All we can do is decide what sort of impact and contribution we're each going to make. So every time we interact with somebody else, that's leadership. Every time we hand somebody a lollipop, don't go home and be like, what'd they preach about? Lollipops? I don't know what the guy was talking about. But every time we interact with somebody, if I come up and I'm like in a bad mood, like my friend who was negative all the time, he influenced me. But if I come up to you and I'm smiling and I'm asking you questions about your life and about your day, that shows that I value who you are, and I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to show you that I value who you are, and you are important to me, you're important to God. So that's what I want to show and contribute to people as I interact with them. So that's some quotes, that's some videos, but what does Scripture say about all of this? And so tonight I want to look at how Jesus modeled leadership, everyday leadership. And so without question, the most obvious thing that we see from his life is that we should follow him, and we should lead others by serving others. We follow his example, and we should lead others by serving others. Mark chapter 10, verses 42 through 45, here's what it says. Jesus called all of the followers together. And I'll stop right there. And so right away, this could just say, Jesus called all of the people together. But what does that say about Jesus based on that underlying part? If there were followers, they were following somebody. They were following a leader. So that says, this is a pretty good sign that Jesus was a leader. We obviously know that, but Scripture tells the story for us. So Jesus called all the followers together. He said, the non-Jewish people have men they call rulers. You know that those rulers love to show their power over the people. And their important leaders love to use all of their authority over the people. But it should not be that way with you. Whoever wants to be your leader must be your servant. Whoever wants to be first must serve the rest of you like a slave. Verse 45, so follow my example. Even the Son of Man did not come for people to serve him. He came to serve others and to give his life to save many people. So Jesus was a perfect example of what it means to be a servant leader. I don't have this verse on the screen tonight, but Matthew 28, verse 18, it tells us that all power and authority in heaven and on earth had been given to him. The verse that we just read was talking about these leaders who had power and authority, and what did they do with their authority? They lorded it over people. They treated people poorly. But Jesus didn't use his power like the other rulers and leaders at that time. He didn't just use his power for show to exercise his authority. Instead, he was humble about the way he lived, and he humbly served others. And even though he is above all things, there was no task that was beneath him. Think about that. Even though he was above all things, there was no task that he considered to be beneath him. And so he humbly washed his disciples' feet. Humbly, he ate with the sinners and the tax collectors and the people that, I don't really want to sit at that lunch table because this person, like everybody they would associate me with them, so I don't want to be associated with them, so I'll just go sit with my crew. I enjoy the conversation with them more anyway, and I get it. Like, you should probably want to sit with people that you have things in common with. But on occasion, stop and look around and go, who here doesn't seem like they fit in? Who here is sitting by themselves tonight? Why are they sitting by themselves tonight? That's unfortunate that they're sitting by themselves tonight. I, as a leader, should go and do something about that. And who's a leader in this room? Again, I asked the question, some people raised their hands, some people didn't. But we're all leaders, right? Because God created us to be leaders. We'll talk about that more in a second. Jesus also publicly forgave the adulterous woman. He shouldn't have done that based on what was happening in that day and time. Like, it was kind of against the grain for Jesus to forgive her because what she did was worthy of punishment. Also, Jesus humbly touched the man with leprosy and healed him. Again, I don't want to associate with this thing because it's going to taint my relationship. With me hanging out with them, I'm going to be associated with them. Jesus touching the man with leprosy, that was like a recipe for Jesus is going to get leprosy. Was he worried about that? Not at all. He's like, I don't care because I know that the difference that I'm going to make is going to be greater than any type of weird, tainted view of me or whatever. And honestly, I'm not trying to give everybody a great view of me. I'm trying to influence people and save people. So he was humble in the way that he went about those things. There was no one who was too low. There was nobody that was too unworthy. I hope that type of language isn't even in our vocabulary. Well, they're too low, they're too unworthy. I don't think those are phrases that we would use, but I think that might be a mentality that we have, unfortunately, too often times. So, everywhere he went, and one person at a time, Jesus led others by serving others. This reminds me of 1 Corinthians 9:19. Paul said, "For though I am free from all men," and you could say, like, I'm free to do whatever I want. I'm free. Instead of just taking advantage of that and doing whatever I want, I have made myself a servant to everyone so that what? So that I may win more for Christ. So yeah, I'm free. I can sit at this lunch table. I can go to this place. I can do whatever I want. I can go ahead and go to that party because I know that I'm not going to make the mistakes that some of those people are making. But instead, I'm going to say, you know what? For me, I'm going to choose to take the high road. I'm going to choose to do more. I'm going to make myself a servant to everyone so that I may win more for Christ. And I really do, guys, think about that. Look at that verse. Make that your prayer. God, can I win more for you? If you do that, Pastor Nate, Lindsay, Pastor Sean, And like they're just going to be like, this is the type of youth group we're wanting to raise up. We want to have people that have a heart for others. We want people that are considering the needs of others above their own needs, and they're going to win people for Jesus. So Paul was willing to sacrifice his needs to be a servant to everyone else, just so he'd be able to make a difference and win people for Christ. We lead others by serving others. It wasn't like Jesus did what he did, or that Paul did what he did just to cross off things from their list. I remember when I was a student, whenever I was a teenager, in my youth group, we had a discipleship class. And we would, every day we had to read like a chapter from the book of John. We would read a chapter from the book of Proverbs. We would check the mark that said that we prayed today. We would check the box that we fasted this week. We would check the box that we served somewhere in the church that week, whether that was moving chairs or playing on the worship team or whatever it was. We had check boxes for all these different types of things. And one of the check boxes was that we would serve, and one was that we would go and we would tell somebody about Jesus every single week. And I love that accountability, honestly. Like, if that's something that you need in your life, like maybe that's something you guys should talk about. Or maybe you need a friend to be like, hey, have you been telling others about Jesus? Maybe you need that accountability. But the reason I did it wasn't so that I could check the box. I'm a list person. I'm a let's accomplish things type of person. But I didn't do those things because I just wanted to check the box, right? Like, that's not the motive. Jesus didn't do those things because he wanted to check the box. It was prophesied that he would die on the cross. He didn't just like go to the cross like, okay, got that out of the way. No, like he did it because he loves people. So the things that we do it because we love people. And here's the thing, guys. Like it said in the video, leadership doesn't mean that you have to change the world, but maybe it's something small where you help change someone's perspective. When my wife, Ashley, was teaching fourth grade at Union, or I guess rather, when we were dating and got engaged, she was still a teacher at Union schools. And she taught third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, and just different grades along the way. But when I would go up to the school to visit her, there was one time where she had to step out of the classroom to go help the teacher in the room next door with something that was going on. And so she's like, can you just like hang out with my class? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like this is like what I love to do, is just hang out with people. And so I didn't know how long it was going to take, but I was like, I'm just going to like do whatever I want to do right now. And I'm going to like influence these kids. And I pulled up a YouTube video called People Are Awesome. How many of you have ever seen any of those People Are Awesome videos? Yeah, maybe a few of you. Less than those that raise their hand to be leaders. It's an old video. And there's different versions of this. But so the video is People Are Awesome. And it's people like skateboarding. It's people playing basketball. But they're doing like crazy high-level tricks. And they're like, it's just a really cool video. You can go check it out. The quality of the video will make you disappointed. But the things that they're doing in the video will not. It's worth watching. So I showed them that video. And then I just was like, you know what? You guys, you might not be able to do that trick or whatever, but just like this video is called People Are Awesome, I think you guys are awesome. They were fourth graders, and so they're all just like looking at me like, huh? So I'm like, I think you're awesome. And actually, here's what I want you guys to do. Miss Thompson's not in here. Actually, at the time, it was her maiden name, but I told the kids, I was like, she's not in here right now, but here's what I want you guys to do. Start doing this and see if she notices. When you have a paper, you know how at the top you have to write your name on the paper. Put your name, and don't just put your name. Put so-and-so, Danny, is awesome. Don't just put your name. Put Kevin is awesome. Don't just put your name. Put Claire is awesome. And so, first name, last name, I don't care what you do, but just put so-and-so is awesome. How silly is that, right? It's a lollipop in like the grand scheme of things, right? I showed them a video. I told them they're awesome. You should write that on your papers that you're awesome. And I'll be honest with you, like the kids in her class, it was kind of a sad case. There were kids who would go home for the weekend, and the school would send bags of groceries home with them for the weekend because otherwise they wouldn't have food. These were the kids that nobody would be at home for days and days on end because their parents were either too busy with work or too busy with fulfilling their own desires and messing up in life or whatever. So there were some difficult situations. So when I said, hey, you're awesome, I might have been the first person to ever tell that kid that they're awesome. What a simple thing. Did it cost me anything at all? I didn't have to even buy a lollipop. I just said, you're awesome, and told them to write that on their papers. And months and months and months went by. And Ashley told me, do you know that I still have kids that write Perry is awesome on their paper? Elena is awesome. They're still writing that. Like, I don't know what month it was that I told them that. Let's say I told them in November. Come April, school's about to be out. They're about to go from 4th grade to 5th grade. I wonder if they started writing it in 5th grade. Their teachers in 5th grade would be like, what is going on? Like, why are these kids doing this? But like for months, these kids kept that going. Now, is this about like making people feel like there's something that they're not? I don't want to like pull the wool over somebody's eyes and try to be like, you're awesome, and actually you're not. But that's not the case. That's not the way that Jesus sees them, is it? Jesus does see them as awesome. And honestly, because Jesus sees them that way, that's the way I want to see them. Because everybody has potential, everybody has worth, everybody has value. So why not? You're awesome. Man, and I look around this room, and I'm not just like blowing smoke, making this up. I look around this room. You guys are awesome. Number one, you're in church tonight. You don't have to be. Saturday, the group from Atlanta got back at 4:30. Church started at 6. And like when worship started, I was in the back, and I could hear like the youth like roaring. Like they were like cheering. I was like, what is going on out there? Like, and I was about to preach that night, and I was like, this is gonna be a good night. Like these kids are excited. They're hyped from the missions trip, and they love Jesus, and they're excited to be here. Like, you're awesome. All of you are incredible. And so what little thing was that for me to be able to tell those kids? I wasn't trying to be a leader that day when I told them that they were awesome. I was just trying to make a difference in their lives. I was trying to add value to their lives. And that's a huge part of what being a leader is. And when we make a difference with people, that's when our influence grows the most. And this is the way that Jesus was. He wasn't concerned with the title. He wasn't concerned with I'm the Son of God, and so I have to check this off the list. He was concerned with valuing others and making a difference in their lives and making sure that they knew how he felt about them. So leaders genuinely care about others and about genuinely making a difference in their lives. The last thing tonight is that we were all created to serve Jesus, and so we were all created to lead. So one of the main foundations of creation is that we were all created in the image of God, right? I mean, we resemble him. We have his attributes. We bear his name. We were made in the image of God. And so one of our main jobs is to steward that well. Like, you are a child of God, represent him well. You should take care of and lead creation as his representative. But like we said at the beginning of the message, most of us don't think of ourselves as leaders, unfortunately. Most of us would just say, well, I'm just 13 years old. I'm just 11 years old. I'm just 17 years old. I'm just a student, and one of these days I'll be a leader whenever I'm like the CEO of a company, whenever I'm like the manager at my job and not just one of the employees or whatever. But all of us should start thinking of ourselves as leaders. So it's not about the title. It's not about the recognition. It's not about what people will say about us at all. It's all about making a difference in people's lives and choosing to be an influence, choosing to make an impact, choosing to add value with the words that we say, with our actions, the way that we model Jesus, our decisions that we make around others. And all of these things add up. It's those little small things that change us into being everyday leaders. And it's up to us. We were all created to serve Jesus, and so we were all created to lead. There's a story about Mother Teresa, and somebody asked her one time, how did God call you to serve the poor? How did God call you to serve the poor? That's like, if you got the chance to talk to Mother Teresa, it'd be like, what do you want to ask her? Because like, she's one of the most influential people in history whenever it comes to providing care and making a difference in people's lives. And so here's what she said whenever they asked her, how did God call you to serve the poor? She said, I was not called to serve the poor. Rather, I was called to serve Jesus, and he led me here. I wasn't called to serve the poor. I wasn't called to be on the worship team. I wasn't called to be over the greeters team. I wasn't called to be on student council. I wasn't called to be on, the captain of the football team or whatever role it is that you're a part of. I wasn't called to this or that. I was called to serve Jesus. And then Jesus calls us to that place or that position or to those people or whatever. But we're called to him first. It reminds us that it's all about others. It's all about serving him. It's all about his kingdom. It's all about his glory. And we do this not in our own ability, but we do it because of the power of Jesus in us, because we cannot do this on our own, right? We know that it's not going to happen in our own ability. It's not going to happen in our own power. John 15, verse 5 says, I am the vine and you are the branches. If you abide in me and I in you, you will bear great fruit. Without me, this is kind of sad, you will accomplish nothing. So how do we do good stuff for Jesus? We abide in him. Like we spend our days with him. Everywhere we go, we're thinking, how can I be Jesus to these people? How can I make a difference in their lives? And so we abide in him. We're faithful to serve wherever it is that he calls us. Just like Mother Teresa, I'm called to serve Jesus, and then he calls me to this place or to these people. And he's going to lead us where he needs us the most. So our job is just to make ourselves available and say, okay, God, I know that you've called me to be yours. You've called me to be your son or daughter. You've called me to be a Christian. And so, where do you want me to be? I'll serve you no matter what, but now put me in the place, put me around the people that you want me to make a difference in their lives. And the crazy thing is, just like that people are awesome video, and just like writing on their paper that, Natalie is awesome, or Lindsay is awesome, or whatever, that was like something that was so insignificant to me in my life, but to somebody in that classroom that day, it might have been one of the most important parts of fourth grade. In fact, I think Ashley likes to do this thing with her class where it's like high point, low point of the day, or I forget what she calls it, but what do they call it, Kellen, at the end of the day? It's basically like the highlight of the day. I think like that day, like the students in her class were all like, my favorite part of the day was whenever Joel told me that we were awesome. And it's like, again, that's one day, but you stack up those small things and they start to add value day after day after day. That's what leadership looks like. And so that's what we're called to do. We're all created to serve Jesus, so we're all created to lead. I went on a business trip a long time ago, and there was a guy, this was in Ohio. The guy's name was Frank Alexander. I met him one time. One time I met Frank Alexander. And we were walking around. I worked at a bank at the time. I oversaw ATMs. And so we're walking through this warehouse that's like so big. It was like this room times like 20. And so we're just like walking through, and there's people working everywhere. And as we're walking through, Frank is like, hey, Sam, how's your husband? I heard that he hurt his back. Actually, Sam, we can actually ask that question now, right? How's your husband? But how's your husband? I heard that he hurt his back. Did he have surgery? How's he doing now? Has he recovered? So Frank was like top 3 in the company. And this was a worldwide company that he worked for. So why in the world, top 3 in the company, and this lady works in the warehouse? He did not need to know her name, honestly. He has way bigger fish to fry, as they say, way bigger things to do, way more important people that he needs to be talking to. So why in the world would he go up to this lady in the warehouse and be like, hey, how's your husband? How did he know that her husband had surgery? Because he had stopped to ask the question, to get to know that person, to try to figure out how can I add value to this person's life. And I met Frank one time for probably about 20 minutes. And I'll never forget his name. I'll never forget the thought that I had of, wow, what a difference he probably makes for this company. Not because he's top 3 in the company. He probably makes a difference there too. But there were probably, 80,000 employees. I'm not exaggerating. 80,000 employees. Why would he know that one person's name? Why would he know that their husband had surgery? because people mattered to Frank Alexander. So my encouragement to you guys tonight is, how can you replicate that? How can you make a difference like that? I heard a story one time of a guy that's very highly respected in our community. His name's Sean Copeland. He's a bank president, and he does like leadership talks all around the world. And if you ask him about who's been one of the most influential people in your life, he's got a list. But on his list, there was a taxi driver that just so impressed him, where he was just like, this guy's different. This guy is doing things with excellence. This person isn't just driving me around town in a taxi. This person made a difference in my life. And how long was that interaction? 20 minutes while he rode in a taxi? So don't ever minimize the importance of your opportunity to make a difference in somebody's life. Don't ever undermine who you are as an individual. Don't ever minimize who you can be as a leader. You might be like, nobody here is driving a taxi, I don't think, but you might be an Uber driver someday, and you might be like, I'm just driving people around. No, you're not. Every interaction you have is an opportunity to build culture, to make a difference, to change a person's life. Every opportunity you have. My hope tonight is that you think about that. I hope that you create those opportunities tonight. I hope that when you go to Chick-fil-A, that you don't just talk about, did you hear about, so-and-so got traded to the Thunder, or, are you ready for school to start? Those are good conversations to have, and we don't have to walk around being hyper-spiritual. But today I had lunch with somebody, and one of the questions I asked that person was, how's your walk with Jesus going? And that could be offensive. Like if I come up to you and I'm like, how's your walk with Jesus going? That would be presumptuous for me to ask that, because it might mean that I think it's not going well. That's why I'm asking you, right? That's kind of a dangerous question for me to just like float that out there. But that person knew when I asked that question, they weren't like, Pastor Joel's so judgmental. Like for him to ask me that question, that wasn't the slightest thought in their mind. The thought that they had in their mind was, I'm really glad that he asked me that question, because I know that he cares about me. I know that he cares about my eternity. I know that he cares about how I'm really doing in my walk with Jesus. It's a weird question to ask, honestly, especially for you guys. Like, if I said, turn to the person next to you and ask how their walk with Jesus is going, do it. It feels kind of weird, right? Because you're like, well, first off, we're in church, so I should kind of know like how they're doing. But when you ask that, you don't just ask it to check the box. You don't do it out of judgment because you're like, I saw the way they were worshiping or not worshiping, right? We don't ask that question out of judgment. We ask that question out of care, because I care where you end up. I want you to go to heaven. I want you to crave the Bible. I want you to fall in love with Jesus, to desire to be with him so close to where it's like, man, I could just like reach out and touch him. Like I want that type of relationship with Jesus for all of you. So how's your walk with Jesus tonight? How are you leading others to get to that place as well? So our job is to genuinely care for others and genuinely serve them and lead them and make a difference in their lives. So how do we respond tonight? You guys can go ahead and stand. We're going to go ahead and have a time to respond. And so here are the things. Maybe you felt like you were never good enough to lead. Maybe you feel like, well, I wasn't called to be a leader. I was just called to be like a part of this thing. Tonight, you need to know that God created you to lead others. You're more than what you've given yourself credit for. You're more than what your concept of yourself has been, because Jesus calls people to be things that they are not. He calls them higher. He calls them out. When a guy in the Bible was hiding from what was happening, he says, mighty man of valor. He was literally hiding from what was happening. And he's like, I'm going to call you up. Even though you think that you're not, you think you're a coward, you're hiding. I'm going to call you up and call you something that you're not. So maybe you need to be reconsidering who you are, who you were created to be. What's your identity in Christ? Maybe you're struggling to love others tonight because you've been so focused on yourself. Maybe you haven't been putting others first in your day-to-day. Maybe tonight you need to ask God to stretch you, and you need to say, you know, I'm a teenager. I'm constantly thinking about what I wear. I'm constantly thinking about who my friends are, the way that I come across to others on social media, or in the way that I, even when I'm in person with people. Maybe you need to let God stretch you and not be so inward focused, but be outward focused. Maybe it's not that you don't think about others, but it's like, how do I talk to people? Is the language that I use uplifting? Is it people are awesome type of language? Or is it, man, usually I'm not even like encouraging people. It might not even be bad, but like I could probably do more to make an actual difference for the kingdom, because it matters so much. And I'm so proud of you guys that went on mission trips. And I'm proud of all of you guys. Again, you're here tonight. But those of you who were like, I'm gonna go tell people about Jesus. There could be a part of signing up for a trip that's like, oh, it'd be cool to go with my friends. Oh, it'll be cool to go see these other places. That is cool. But you know what's really cool is I saw that Pastor Sean posted that 3 kids got saved in Ireland because a group of students from Broken Arrow went and gave up their lives for a week to be able to say, you matter, little kid. And that little kid's like, oh, I matter? I matter to you? I matter to Jesus? Like, that's the person I want to live my life for then. That's what's cool. That lasts. That lasts for all eternity. And so that's our opportunity, is to be able to make a difference in that way. So here's what I want to do. I want to ask all of you guys. There's not a ton of us in the room tonight because it's a smaller knit group because a lot of people are going on mission trips. But we have room up here just like we did for worship. I'm going to have you guys come down. So everybody go ahead and head up to the front. We're going to go palms up whenever you guys get up here. And I just encourage you to surrender to God tonight, to listen to God tonight. We're going to sing this song, and it talks about being undone by who God is in our lives. And so the most important thing that is going to happen tonight at Assembly Youth is what's about to happen right now. If you let it, because you didn't come here to hear me speak, I hope. You didn't come here to play basketball or volleyball in the gym, I hope. You didn't come here to sing songs in worship, to check the box or whatever. My biggest hope for you is that you don't leave here tonight until you've talked to God, until He's talked to you. Some of you might be like, I don't ever hear from God. I just come and I sing to Him and then I pray to Him, but I don't ever hear from Him. I want you guys to really listen to God tonight. If that means that you're not singing the lyrics that the team is going to lead us in, and that's no like offense to them, because the team would be like, we want you to talk to God, right? I mean, that's why you're here. You want to lead people closer to Jesus. That's why we're leading worship. They want nothing more than for you to hear from God tonight. I want nothing more than for you to hear from God tonight. God wants nothing more than for you to hear His voice tonight. So tonight, listen so close. And honestly, here's what I would ask you. I'm going to be here for a bit after the service is over. If you hear from God tonight, please come tell me what He said to you. I would love to hear that. Why? Because I care. That means the world to me. Not because I can be like, my message worked. That's not what this is about. I care because your future, your happiness, your joy, your effectiveness depends on it. As you abide in Christ, you'll bear much fruit. These are things that really matter, right? So they're going to sing. You can sing along with them if you want. But the main thing I want you to do is to listen to God. During worship, I saw several people get down on their knees and they were expressing their love for God. And some of the lyrics were very fitting for them getting it out on their knees, because it was showing like, okay, wow, Lord, what we're talking about in this song, I don't even know that I can stand in your presence because you're so holy. So they got down on their knees. If you want to get down on your knees, okay, I'll tell you, I remember when I was a young adult, I got down and I was doing this, and I was praying about my future. God, what do you want from me? Where are you going to send me? You know, what does all this look like? I was just like early on into college. And I got down on my knees and I'm praying about this. And some lady came up behind me and put her hand on my back and started praying for me. And I began to have a vision of what my future looked like. I saw myself standing on a stage. This was like a part of my calling into ministry. I saw myself standing on a stage and preaching to a room, and I could see people to my right, I could see people to my left. But for me, there was a posture that I got into to be able to hear from God in a different way. So there's no formula. You can stand and God's gonna talk to you too. But you can kneel, you can sit down, you can go be like, I don't even wanna hear the songs. I've sat in worship before with my hands over my ears, not because they don't sound good, because they sound awesome. But I've said, I don't wanna hear anything else, Lord, but you. So what's your heart tonight? How bad do you wanna hear from God? Maybe you hear from him all the time. But if that's the case, if you've heard from God before, I bet it was so powerful that you're like, I don't want to go a week without that happening again, because he's that good. But if you've never had that where you felt like God was speaking to you, and it's not going to necessarily be audible, but you're going to sense something welling up in your heart, welling up in your mind, and you're going to be like, okay, Lord, I think this is you. You're going to question if it's God, though. You're going to be like, I don't know, that's probably just me. That's probably just my thoughts that are kind of like intermingling in with all this kind of stuff. That's the devil that's going to try to make you think that that's not the Lord. But I want you guys to listen tonight. The band's going to lead us. You guys find whatever position or posture you need to be in to hear from God. And let this be the most powerful thing that has happened tonight. And let it be the whole reason that we're here. Let's sing.
You have all my attention.
it's been so worthwhile, the conversation that you've been having with God. I pray that as you stood here, as you knelt here, as you've been in this place, I pray that it would have been so refreshing to your soul. Some of you have been going, and you've been busy, and you've been pouring out of yourself, or just the pace of life. I just pray that tonight was exactly what was needed, because you just needed to rest in God. And maybe that's what he said to you tonight, is just abide in me. You're trying to do too much in your own ability. Just abide in me. And on the flip side of that, there are those of you who maybe it's been like summertime and you're just in like, man, I haven't done a thing. I woke up at noon and the next thing I did was came here. I haven't done anything. And honestly, because of that, I've kind of just felt lonely. I felt almost depressed. I felt like my summer has been so lame. I'm so lame. I don't have very many friends. Not a single person texted me today. Not a single person called me today. I literally did nothing. Played video games or watched TV or Netflix or whatever. I feel like I'm so lame. I pray that tonight God spoke to you and said, you're not. You're awesome. And I love you because I made you. You're a leader more than you know. And I'm going to call something out of you that's beyond what you could ever ask, think, or imagine. You're not lame because you're my kid, and I'm proud of you. I pray that he has spoken that into the depths of who you are, and that your identity has been shifted tonight. I pray that your identity has been lifted tonight. I don't know what God has spoken to you, but I hope that you listened. And I know that if you listened, it wasn't time wasted. Time in his presence is never time wasted. Pray that this has been so good for all of you. You guys can look at me if you haven't been already. I know you've been in that mode of prayer. I just want to encourage you guys. What does a leader look like? I'll tell you. It looks just like you. From the youngest to the oldest. You want me to tell you what a leader looks like? And I told you that your youth pastors want this more than anything. They want somebody who loves others and loves God. And you remember in the video, the guy talked about looking at that girl and it was creepy? I'll tell you, during worship, I was looking around at some of you. That's kind of creepy. While you were worshiping, there was this 41-year-old guy watching you. That's weird. But here's what was happening. I was being encouraged to watch the way that you expressed your love for God. Because it takes me back to when I was a teenager. And I remember there was a time I sprinted around the room because I couldn't contain my joy. I couldn't contain my passion. There were times where I would just be jumping up and down and nobody else was moving. And I just was, oh man, Jesus. And to watch you guys worship, I saw you down on your knees. I saw you like, oh man, like I could see like your posture of worship, and it encourages me. So I want you guys to know, yeah, I had the microphone tonight. Cool. You led me tonight in worship. Yes, you guys, because you had microphones. And yes, you guys, because you had instruments. But you want to know who led in worship tonight? You guys. Because I watched you worship, and it was encouraging to me to be like, those students love God. You added value to my life tonight. I hope you know that. And I hope that you do that ongoing. There are going to be people that start coming to this youth group in this upcoming school year, and you won't even know. You're going to lollipop that person with the way that you worship God. Does that make sense? Like, they're gonna look at you. They're gonna be standing right there, and you stand over here, and they just watch you worship. And you're lollipopping that person, and they're gonna be like, "What do they have? That's incredible." And then you're gonna graduate high school, and they're gonna come up to you and be like, "Hey, before you leave, I just want to tell you, you've been one of the most influential people in my life." And you're like, "What are you talking about?" You'd be like, "I've been watching you. I stood right over there and I watched you worship. I watched you pray. I watched the way that you sought the Lord. I didn't know how to pray. Nobody ever taught me that, but I watched you pray. And I'm different because of you. You're all leaders and you're all making a difference. You're all awesome. God has a plan and a purpose for your life. And we love you guys so much. It's so awesome that you're here. And we just look forward to the weeks to come and the years to come, because we know that we're going to be able to watch the testimony of God play out in your life. And we get the privilege, leaders, right? We get the privilege of watching that, not in a creepy way, but in a, man, look at God. How awesome is he? So, hey, we're going to go ahead and dismiss tonight. We're so glad that you're here. And we're going to go to Chick-fil-A for those of you who want to go. And I'm going to eat some chicken strips. I don't know about y'all, but if you see me and God talked to you tonight, come tell me what he said. We love you guys. We'll see you next week.